Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Align, where we help you align with your true self, others, and your desired outcome to live your best life. This is I would say, very timely topic and something, especially through COVID, it's becoming more and more important. People are embracing it more and more as we have working more at home. We're doing things more virtually. And the topic today is e-learning and like cross-cultural e-learning. We'll get into like why e-learning, why cross-cultural, but I first want to introduce Serene. How are you? Say hi.
Hi everyone, I'm Serene Wang. I'm so happy to be here.
I know we're super excited to have her. And to start, I want to let you tell the story, but Serene has actually created a coaching / mentorship platform that's international. And so I want to let you tell the story of why you created it. We're both NYU alums, and we're both very proud and also happy that it's kind of shaped our career and the businesses we built. So definitely tell us first, what gave you the seed to create this business when you were going to NYU?
So when I was a student and choosing school, it's really confusing. There's 3,000 schools in the state, and where to begin with, where to even start to choose. And they're just like so many resources online. It's confusing. And I was in China. I went undergrad in China, and I started to apply graduate school in the States. So for me, it's a really confusing, really complicated process. And when I started my graduate school, I find almost everybody, not just the international students, even the domestic students, they're confusing at all, like as well. I remember one guy said, I asked him, why do you choose Wharton, like UPenn? I know it's a really great school, but why, right? Specifically, why? He said, oh, this program, they gave me a free iPad. I'm like, that was it? People just choose their school based on some really cute reasons. Like some of my students pick University of Washington because the school mascot is a husky or Alaska.
Wow,
it's cute. But so at that moment, I feel like if anyone had that experience to tell why the program makes sense to you, that would be so helpful. Yeah. So great. I had the opportunity to directly talk to the NYU International Student Admission Office, and they told me how they help educator to find job. That makes me feel like, okay, this is a school for me. I actually got 8 different offers, but exactly I know this is the school for me because I'm lucky enough to directly talk to them. But most students, they don't do that. Yeah. So they have no idea. And a lot of people take detours, like a lot of mentors at my team, they choose major like 3 different times. Yeah. And when I study like literature and translation for my undergrads, I don't know, I just think translator is such a cool job. And luckily, when I did it second year in school, I don't really enjoy it. It's just the feeling. I don't think it's my thing. So I was so confused. It was second year in school. What am I gonna do? And well, I was lucky again. Like my teacher suggested me to, why don't you try to teach someone? Like since you're really good at translation and taking tasks. So I did, and I enjoy it a lot. That's the moment make me realize if someone just know you as a person, yeah, and know what's your strengths and weakness and give you some sort of guidance, that will make you feel so much better. You don't have to take detour in your academic path and your career path. That's the initial idea of me starting my coaching business. It's not started as a business. It started as me sharing stuff online. And magically, I got 1 million followers. So people are like, why don't you just offering this? We need this. And later when I sort of give my students coaching sessions, sometimes their parents standing next to them. And their parents goes, oh, I wish you were there when I was younger. That would be so helpful. I don't know why am I choosing finance. I hate it, So it just makes so much sense. Like someone can share that, like, why do you pick this program, this school, this major? And that can just save a lot of energy. And you can just directly go to direction that you want.
I love that. And I think being like you, Chinese myself, like, even though I was born and raised here, very Chinese values, right? So I see a lot of my friends and their parents spend so much money on like SAT schools and Chinese school and blah, blah, blah school, whatever school, that I feel like I can't say it's only a Chinese thing. I think a lot of high performing parents who expect a lot from their kids, no matter what
Mhm.
background, they spend so much resources to make these kids ready for college, but they've never spent the resources to ask their child, what is my child's gift? And what does my child actually want to do? Right. And we used to joke around, but it's still kind of true where in Asian culture, you could be a doctor, a lawyer, or a failure. That's
Mhm.
it, right?
Exactly.
Business was new, right? So we had one more option. But I feel to your exact point, I think a huge reason why you're successful is because you're doing that missing piece that a lot of parents never thought of doing. And it could be a cultural thing where, I mean, I think back in our parent generation, you just did what you were told. Like you were lucky enough that you had a job. So it's like, just do what you're told. Okay, you have hands and a feet, do whatever thing that would, make you money anyway,
Exactly.
right? When we have the luxury of choice now, I think there's a whole new element of thinking through, well, what is my child's gift? And I think that's why your platform was so helpful and why people resonate with you, because it's finally asking them, well, what do you want?
Mhm.
I love that.
It- yeah, and it's always so it's either like an extreme mindset. Like some people go chase your dream no matter what, no backup, just go big or go home. And some people choose it and they regret because it's hard to find a job or they find out it's really, really hard. And some people goes be practical, choose the best major that it's easy to find a job, computer science, go, 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 go. But then they hate it. So
Yeah.
I think there is a way, a balance that you find the major and the school program that is perfect for you and you enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's all important. And it's easy for you to get a job.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that you've done this. I'm just because I feel, for example, the clients that I work with are the ones who are already in their careers, already like executives or C-suite or founders, right? Where at that point, I'm not saying it's too late, but at that point, it's a different conversation. Where okay, like how do I pivot? Given my experience, what can I leverage and not throw away my experience, but still pivot career, pivot a role, right? I think that if they did it earlier, right? And I feel like a lot of kids aren't as much. I mean, to be fair, people say, oh, we're so young, we don't know what we want. I don't know if it's true. I feel like when you're younger as a child, before you were told by your parents, before you
Mhm.
were told by society, before you're told by your teachers what is okay and what's not okay, you naturally had things you gravitated towards, right?
Yes.
So it's a lot of, if anything, like for my clients, it's helping them unlearn everything that they were told to be. And so I again applaud your platform, what you've built, because you're forcing kids to think about what they want earlier. And it's okay to change, but like
Mhm.
you're at least opening up that door in that conversation. So you're not junior year switching your major again. You're not 3 years in your job and realize this is really not for me. So
Mhm.
super helpful. And I definitely, so e-learning, totally understand why that's important, the importance. And when we say e-learning, it's just basically having coaching, mentorship, or teachers virtually, right? So
Yes.
do you want to give us like a sample of what like a typical classroom would look like, a virtual classroom, or a typical session would look like? I know you do a lot, but what's the most popular, I guess, sessions that you would do?
So the most popular one would be first I meet with my student and we will give the student an assessment, even though it called assessment, but it's not a test.
Okay.
It's a fun conversation between me or the other coaches with the students. Mostly talk about what do they really enjoy
Mhm.
about their life. We will talk about dream first, and then we will talk about super practical stuff. So what kind of car you want to drive in future? Do you want to drive a car? Do you want to work like flexibly or do you want to go to the office 5 to 9 or 9 to 5? What's your ideal life? So then we will think backwards. We call this backward design thinking. Say one of my students, he said, oh, I want to live a life that I drive a Tesla. I go to work or I can work virtually. And then I like to do technical stuff. I don't like to talk to people that much. And then I asked him like, okay, have you ever thought about being an engineer or being a programmer? Do you have any interest in that? And he said, I thought about being a game designer, but I'm not good at like graphic design or art stuff. So I said, what about the coding side? So he actually took a boot camp at MIT for the summer.
Mm.
And then he loved it. And that was like 5 years ago. And right now he's exactly living the life he wants, driving a Tesla, go to work and sometimes stay at home to work from home and making the salary that he thinks is ideal for him. So even nowadays, 5 years later, he still sends me like Christmas card every year just to thank me.
That's amazing. I'm getting chilled. I think it's so smart because I feel when you force someone to think about their dream life, it's basically you're creating a map, right? You're just saying that's the end destination, that's the end point. So then how do we get there, right? So every
Mhm.
step this you and your client and the coach, it coaches them through it. Every moment, every decision they make is just, are we on track or are we deviating from the track? So I think that's super smart. And I want to do add another layer because like you have all types of clients, but and students on your platform who are clients, but a lot of them are international students. A lot of them are, I would say, mostly Chinese students, right? So let's talk a little bit more about the second layer of the complications when you're picking a job, that it's not just the job, it's the culture, right? So for
Mhm.
example, like if you like, for example, I went to NYU Stern and it was literally a target school. And when I say target school is in the world, for example, of finance, a lot of the major corporations would go to these specific schools like an NYU, they would go to UPenn, they would go to Harvard, and they would pick out, they'll have seats for every role, and they'll pick out a handful of people at these schools, right?
Mhm.
If you're not a target school, right, it's kind of a lot harder for you to first of all get in the door and also like learn the culture, the what it's like in a day in the life of it, right? Like I think I was so fortunate because I had mentors, I had teachers, I had coaches, I had the resource to ask literally, what are you doing day to day? And like of course it's me being curious and asking the right people, but like I would sit down and all right, what is investment banking? Like tell me what exactly are you doing, right? Like day to day,
Mhm.
walk me through your day. So I feel like people who don't have that direct resource or those like mentors around people who've kind of done it, it's so hard for you to learn the culture, right? So that's just someone, for example, we're talking about everyone in the US right now, target school versus non-target, right? If you talk about someone who's living in the outside country, you layer on another element of like the American culture, right? And then the finance culture and the corporate culture. So talk to me about that and how you know have helped your clients navigate the corporate America, the American culture, being an international student, right? We also are all biased given the way we were raised. So how do you kind of become the bridge between, I guess, international students from China mainly, and then wanting to come to the U.S. to work?
I love that story, and I love that you said bridge, because there is a disconnection because there are cultural difference,
Yeah.
and just like I said, people would struggle from should I pursue my dream or should I do like really practical, like my parents suggest, finance, doctor, lawyer.
Yeah.
I had one student, she is actually from Indonesia. And the first session, she said, I want to become a K-pop idol.
Okay.
That's exactly what she said. And I asked her, what do you like to do? She said, I like dance. I love dance. So I asked her to did very thorough research about different dance program in the US. She was in a high school in the US. So she is going to apply a dance program. And but her family hate that idea.
Of
Her
course.
mom goes, you will become like really poor.
Yeah.
I don't want to give you money forever, baby. And then we had this conversation like 2 or 3 times. So we come up with an idea. She would pick dance major, dance performance as a minor,
Yeah.
and choose another major that like a business major that she think is acceptable for her. And then just have this backup plan.
Yeah.
She did that, and after she graduated from undergrad, she actually get a chance to go to Korea to become a trainee. And right now she is a K-pop idol for sure. I mean, I'm not sure like how great or how famous she is right now, but she is living her dream, and she's really appreciate that. She's like, because it's really stressful to be an idol, and she doesn't know whether she's going to be super successful or not, but she always feel really safe and secure because she had that option.
Yeah.
If not, I can work in the bank, and she's okay with it. I can just dance on the side.
Yeah.
So this is one thing I always tell my students, no matter domestic or international, and especially internationals, always think about a backup plan that is acceptable. Not like emergency plan, but an acceptable backup plan.
Yeah.
So it's like your safe blanket, like you have it and you feel, okay, now I can just really, really put an effort to pursue my dream. That's always what I would say. And we always try to connect the other coaches and mentors in the field. For example, those students, she is in business and dance. So we introduced her to some really great dancers and pop music producers in the States. And also we help her to get into like internship at the bank. So she understands this work, this job, I can do it. It's not that, it's just that I'm not that passionate. But she's okay with it. Yeah. So her family is really okay with that. She's like, oh, her mom said she's young, so she can try. And if she failed to be an idol, she can work in the bank in her hometown or whatever. So I think that's the first thing. And the second thing is we always connect to the school and a lot of corporate to ask, oh, are you like, what is exact help you would offer for the international students? Since I had the chance to work at the international admission office before, so I know like the process can be really confusing. So we sort of help the school to talk to the international students more directly and help them to understand each other. And we have this very interesting design, the curriculum design. It's called kickoff sessions. The kickoff sessions is for all the international students to understand the target country's culture. Yeah. We do help students to study abroad globally, so not just the state. And for the domestic students in the state as well, we help them study like all over the world. So we will have this kick-off session for them to understand the culture difference. Starting from myself, I would always remind myself, the moment I landed in JFK, I would remind myself to smile bigger, talk like, because American English, people show a lot of their mouths. That's totally different from how I speak Chinese. When I speak Chinese, I look really calm. I don't have too much facial expression, but if I do that in English, I look like a robot. So that's why I would remind myself. And for our session, we help our clients and we help our students to code switching. We also do this for a lot of corporate to help their international employees to code switch in the American like work setting. So that's how we help like in a different mindset to establish a global mindset, especially to understand the target culture. And we help the students or clients to set up a really, really doable backup plan. Yeah. And we help them to connect with the school and other coaches, like someone like Jessica, So that's what we do.
I love that. I have so many thoughts. So first I wanted to address is the backup plan. I love that. So when I went to NYU Stern, I literally, funny, the reason why I picked the school was because I wanted to study abroad. And NYU has arguably the best study abroad program. We can travel there. We have our own sites there. We don't have to do exchange programs, right? So that was quite an easy sell for me. I didn't even know finance was so prestigious there until I literally got there, and all I could hear was finance, right? So my backup plan was like, okay, if we're paying like $55K a year to go to this school, I want to get the most prestigious major, right? Which was fine. That was my backup plan, right? And my minor, what I really passionate about, which is like, it was called media culture communication, which is essentially marketing and psychology in one, right? So I love the idea. I mean, I think I got very lucky where within finance, I found like business development and alternative space is much more aligned with me, and I love it. But I love the idea that you mentioned a backup plan, right? Like there's way to express your passion and still live the lifestyle that you want to live, but it doesn't, your passion is not always 100% your career, and that's okay. Like maybe if you want to live, I love how you also add the lifestyle element, right? Like say for example you want to make $10 million a year, right? And there's only, let's say, a handful of careers that are more guaranteed to get in that space. It's okay to pick one of those careers that you're good at, right? And it resonates with you. But then you also enjoy singing and dancing on the side. You don't have to make singing and dancing your career, right?
Mhm.
So I love how in your assessments you ask a very important question to your kids, and I feel like a lot of people don't do this. What's the lifestyle you want to live? Right? Let's be practical about it. What are your talents? What do you enjoy doing? What's the lifestyle you want to live? And then find which of those talents or skills that you have can produce the income and the lifestyle that you want, right? And I think that's super
Mhm.
smart. And then the cultural thing, hilarious. So when I went to, and when I studied abroad in Prague, life changing. I felt like I intentionally picked it because it was between that or London, and I was like, London's like essentially New York, but in Europe, right? Like I'm not trying to
Mhm.
disrespect London or New York, but it's quite, it's a big city. They speak English. It was my coaches who said to me, Jess, throw yourself in the deep end. Trust me, you will love it. I did it. I just trusted them. And it was completely life changing where you're forced to learn a completely different culture. Even though some of them do speak English, they don't always want to speak English to you. So you have to navigate all that stuff. So I definitely want to pivot and ask you a little bit more about, the cultural differences, right? So when I was studying abroad, actually, at one schools, I get a presentation about stereotypes, like the American stereotypes and the things that we've experienced, and kind of teaching it to the Czech students. But what are
Mhm.
some things that you feel like in understanding the Chinese culture, understanding the American culture? What are some things that you feel like any international student should understand about American culture that may be shocking, maybe very different from what they're used to, but you're like, these are like 3 to 4 non-negotiable things that you need to understand about the American culture to be successful here.
Okay. So I think the first is how people communicate.
Okay.
American people is much more straightforward
Hmm.
than Chinese people. We always try to be really polite. So sometimes we say yes, but it means no. Sometimes we say no, but it means yes. That it can be really confusing for American
Yeah.
people. So I would tell my students, if you want to say no, just in a polite way. And
Yeah.
that's okay. If you don't say it, it's more confusing. And and a lot of people just trying to avoid confrontation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's not like it's a lot of people do that, even Americans, but I would say especially in school or work setting, you need to learn how to say no or how to turn down someone's invitation, or ask for help in a polite way
Mhm.
that doesn't make things awkward. Don't make yourself feel horrible. I think that's very important. And always trying to ask a question. That I was horrible at it because growing up in China, we're really good at note taking, study, and listen. Listen, but we're really bad at asking critical questions.
Yeah.
Because asking questions in class, if in a critical way, it's disrespectful for the teacher sometimes. So we try to be really quiet in class. But here it's very different. I remember the first semester I went to school. It's all my, and interestingly, all my classmates are school headmaster at the time in New York. So they're super smart, of course, and they have a lot of experience. The whole session is them discussing stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I had that session. I'm like, why is everybody keep talking? And when is I'm waiting for that quiet moment so that I can talk. But American people just talk over each other all the time. But that's okay here. It's not okay in other cultures. So that's very different. I would let my students know, like, to observe. And if other people are doing it and it seems acceptable, just try.
Yeah.
Okay. And the one thing about bilingual or the people who speak another language as their second language, there is a transition. There's a time, a lag that I want to speak from Mandarin to English or another language to English. We had that time period that we need to loading,
Yeah.
load the stuff, load the content, and which is really hard for international employees or students in school or in workplace to express themselves immediately
Yeah.
because they don't know at that moment. And once they already finally got the sentence, everybody's jumping to another topic. So that would be the second most important thing is just to ask a good question or just let people know, sorry, can you guys give me 10 seconds? I just need to say this. People would wait. People would be okay with it. Actually, people are really nice. It's just you need to tell them what's going on.
Yeah.
So, and the third thing is if there is any misunderstanding situation, just specifically say how you feel in a polite way and what is the story behind your behavior first. Because sometimes people just think you're rude, but you're not. You're just trying to be nice. And then you have this misunderstanding of each other. And then you hate each other, just like that. But if you did something, people don't like it, and you tell them the story behind it, they will go, oh, that's actually cute, or that's actually sweet. So then they would tell you how they felt if you do that. So that clears the misunderstanding immediately. And then you can keep this friend.
Yeah, I know. I love that. One thing the biggest thing I tell a lot of my coaching clients is essentially a combination of everything that you've mentioned, the three. It's stop just putting your head down to work, actually connect with people. Because I think in American culture, if you think about like jobs that you get, opportunities you get, right? Let's be honest, it's not the best person that wins, right? It's not like, okay, this person is the most creative, or this was the best project and that's why we hired them. That's not how humans make decisions. Humans make decisions,
Exactly.
right? They hire who they like, they hire who they bond with. And there's nothing, I think there's also an element in any culture where it's like, you don't want to be the teacher's pet, right? You don't want to be like sucking like up to somebody. And I think there's a huge difference between like sucking up and trying not to do work and get ahead versus like genuinely caring about you, people that you work with, your bosses, people that work for you. And I've definitely seen like through all types of careers and all types of backgrounds where it's not just putting your head down to do the work. It's really getting to know and connecting people in your universe. Like you just never know. It could be like, you could be staying in Whole Foods. Like I've literally have standed in line and like just randomly was talking to someone, was nice, decided not to play with my phone one day, built a connection with them. And next thing you knew, they were a huge reason why I found a new client. Right. So you just never know how the world works and who you're going to meet. So I always tell people, keep your head up, like do your stuff, but then always make time to keep your head up and connect with people around you. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I like what you just shared. I always tell my clients or my students, it's okay you establish a new persona, the ideal one. I always ask them, do you know Beyonce is actually really shy when she's not on stage, but the moment she's on stage, she's the diva. And you can do that as well when you deliver a speech, when you do a presentation, you can be the diva at the moment, and you can be your shy self. Well, I'm like that. You can be the shy self like after that, So I always share with them, and we actually invite like Broadway actor and actress to do the training that you jump into another character that is ideal, that you want to be for that moment. And a lot of people are doing really great.
Yeah, and I love that because I feel sometimes people forget we are multifaceted, right? Like the version of you with your parents is different than the version of you on a date, the version of you who's a coach, a different version of you that's a boss, right? And it's not being disingenuous, right? You're still you. You're just a little bit different when you're around different people. And I would say you also behave differently because you want a different experience with them, or you want a different outcome, right? So I love that. And it's also that way you can separate the characters and not feel like, oh, I'm embarrassed I did that, or it could be like, oh, well, that was like the presentation mode of me. That's like the date mode version of me. That's the me with my parents, right? So you're allowed to have different avatars of you. It's just situational. So I love that. Well, I feel we've covered so much today and we definitely learned so much. So thank you, girl, for coming. I always wrap up with one question that I ask all my guest speakers, and that is, what is your unique gift? Because I feel every single person has a unique gift that they can share with the world and really kind of elevate our consciousness, make us a better place, better community. So, what do you think your unique gift is?
I think the unique gift I have right now at this moment is really just combining all my passion into my work, that design different curriculum or share my content online and really resonate with the people in need.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely something I enjoy to do. And I know a lot of people really need this. So I'm just every moment I'm working, I'm really, really happy. So I think that's very, very unique for me.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, girl. I can't wait to see you soon.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Of course. Bye, dear.
Bye.